कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः.
When there was nothing of this luxury, so many now, the other day in USA we were walking through the malls, we were taken to 2 or 3 malls, and one of them I found perhaps more than a kilometer long, and we were walking and walking and walking. So after some time we told Pankaj, who was accompanying us, that what is this we are seeing? There are so many shops we have crossed through as we walked through the corridor. I found that our life can go on very easily and very comfortably without any of the objects displayed in these shops. They are all about so many fashions and so many other things which we can very well go without. It is all displayed everywhere throughout the world. With the industrial growth, with the economic growth, with the material flourishing of the civilization, it is becoming more and more and more. So suppose earlier in India we were having only perhaps Ambassador and Fiat cars. So people were happy when they were having a car, they were happy with the car. But when now so many models, so many international models are running everywhere. Suppose I have one small Maruti and by the side of it I find a very luxurious car is driven by my neighbor, maybe Mercedes or BMW or whatever. So every day I am seeing that he is driving it in front, and I like the car. Perhaps one day he takes me to somewhere and I sit in that car. That gives me the comfort of the car. So the more and more we think about that better vehicle, the more comfortable vehicle and more luxurious vehicle, the mind slowly generates sangha, and from that finally the desire comes that I should also have that kind of a car. And for that whatever to be done we try to do. Maybe sometimes even by unfair means we try to collect more money, not knowing that, not being aware that that is actually going to take our happiness away. We will not be really happy by getting the car. So this is what plays throughout, that we are spending mind hours on the worldly objects. Suppose when there were no worldly objects, think of the situation before the Industrial Revolution, 200, 300 years ago. People did not have in front of them all these objective allurements. So their thoughts will not go to them at all, and their desires also will be limited. That is why perhaps they were desiring some Swarga afterlife and all. Those were limited desires. Their mind will not be polluted by so many desires which are coming from the repeated thinking of the worldliness, worldly object, worldly situation. So here the fundamental point is that the mind hours we spend on the worldliness, that matters. To get rid of the desire, we have to spend our mind hours on something else. That is what is done by spirituality. What we do here, see, anything we interact with, that quality will come to us. If we interact with variety, then our mind will become fragmented with the variety, with the likes and dislikes. Suppose we interact with oneness, then the mind will generate uniformity, oneness. It will no more be divergent, variegated. So in spirituality, forget about the truth. Even if the soul was not a truth, had it been just a model. Suppose this soul we are talking about, which is universal, unchanging, never gets tainted, never gets affected, one and even beyond one, transcending one also. Such a soul, if we take this just as a concept and start thinking about it, contemplating on it, by this very process of spending the mind hours on this concept, by interacting with this concept, our mind will slowly become expanded, nearing infinitude. It will become universal. It will get rid of all its fragmentations. It will become uniform. It will rise to the dimension of the soul that we are speaking about. It depends on what we are interacting with. Suppose throughout the day your mind is full of the blaming thoughts, blaming others, finding others' defects that we are thinking of, criticizing others, finding fault with others, then whose mind is getting polluted? Maybe the defect you are finding in others, but the others don't get affected by that. You are thinking of the evil qualities of others. By that your mind is contracting the evil qualities. So whatever we are thinking, accordingly our mind is built with that. Everything is generated by the mind. By generating pure thoughts, by spending more time on pure thoughts, universal thoughts, noble thoughts, our mind will become pure, noble and universal. This is such a simple truth, but we are not able to apply it. You have to remember and apply it every moment. So it all depends on how many mind hours we are spending on this truth. If it is only half an hour of sadhana per day and rest of the 23 and a half hours, or at least 16 hours or 17 hours, we are spending with all the opposite things, where the mind is engaged in all the opposite things, in blaming others, criticizing others, or desiring small things, then the benefit of the sadhana will be very little. So even when we are interacting with the multifarious fragmented world, our mind should be always be aware of the truth behind it. It like a headlight behind the mind, that truth should be on. So what will happen? We call it dhyana mukhinata. In meditation, when you sit for meditation, most of the people say that I am not able to meditate. When I am sitting for meditation, all the thoughts come more. Even during the day, so many thoughts do not come. When we sit for meditation, all the thoughts come and they completely disturb our mind. It will happen because throughout the day we have been inviting all these thoughts. Thoughts of selfishness, thoughts of criticism, thoughts of blaming others, thoughts of self-aggrandizement. All those thoughts we are inviting throughout the day, forgetting our real anchor, real identity. And meditation is a time when we are trying to keep away all the thoughts. So it's a free time, you are not involved in any other external activity. So all the thoughts will crowd more at that time. They will say, throughout the day you have invited me. How are you asking me to keep away? Now is the time that we will come to you. You have been inviting me throughout the day. So finally the meditation ends up in a failure, like a defeated soldier, that fighting with all the unwanted thoughts and finally ending up in chaos. This is a diagram where I have tried to show what Bhagavad Gita is showing us. We call it the cycle of bondage from desire motivated activity. How getting into the trap of Sangha and desire, we are becoming more and more bound. That as days pass, instead of getting more and more liberated, we are getting more and more bound. Cycle starts from ignorance or avidya. That means our wrong idea about the small constricted identity. Our real identity is universal. We don't know it. We think we are the small body-mind limited self. And that avidya, through its power of covering, that is avarana, and vikshepa, the distraction, it creates the desire, as I explained just now. So desire actually to enjoy the pleasant and to avoid the unpleasant. That leads us to various kinds of activity. So it leads us to activity motivated by desire, ego. As an example illustration I have shown there, Rajya Sukha Lobha. It is referring to the first chapter shloka where from we started. That is Arjuna's initial mindset. He says that Yat Rajya Sukha Lobhena Hantum Svajanamudyataha. In his mind the feeling was that we are going to fight the war only because of greed for enjoying the sukha resulting from kingship. So it is the activities motivated by selfish gain, motivated by selfish desires, constricted desires, and egoistic activities. Now, as we get engaged in such activities, what happens to us is that is called Vishayadhyana. Vishayadhyana means constantly thinking, meditating, as if it is meditating on the worldliness. This meditation never stops. For meditating on the oneness, on the transcendental oneness, we cannot spend even half an hour, and that time also our mind is not able to get fixed to it. It gets diverted from that. But for this Vishaya Dhyana, always thinking about the worldliness, the fragmented nature of the world, the variety of the world, no effort is needed. It is our natural. As I said quite some time back, we are created like that. The Creator has created us with the senses outgoing. Paranchikhani vyachinat swayambhuhu tasmat parang pashyati nantaratma. So, that Vishaya Dhyana, constantly thinking of things to enjoy and fearful of facing unpleasant, that is thinking of the pleasant for enjoyment and fearful about facing the unpleasant. This is the Vishaya Dhyana. This, when it continues and continues, it gives rise to Sangha, which is a clinging to preference and prejudice. That is, whatever we like, we cling to that, and whatever we dislike, we try to, that is the negative clinging, we try to avoid that. This Sangha results from Vishaya Dhyana. Then this Sangha, clinging to the preference and prejudice, this enhances the Kama further, the desire further. And we enter into more and more of egoistic activities, desire motivated activities. So I have written there, intensifying the chain of bondage, making us slaves to objects and objective situations. Actually, we are always slave to the objective situations because our mind is not within our control. The moment the situation is a little unpleasant, our mind gets affected. We are losing control over our mind. We immediately start scolding or shouting or wailing, get agitated about it. So actually we are always working slave to the situation. Sometimes knowing that some food is harmful to our body, we cannot help taking it more and more just because it is pleasant to our tongue. So tayohna vashamagachet, as Bhagavad-Gita said, we are not so. We are always getting slave to the sensory attraction and repulsion. So this is making us slaves to objects and objective situations. The whole Bhagavad Gita is actually to make us master of the world. The whole spirituality, the purpose of spirituality is to make us master of the world, not by becoming king, but becoming master of our own mind and intelligence, master of our own personality, master of ourselves. By that we become the master of the world. We no more get affected by whatever happens to the world, be it we don't get elated by something pleasant, favorable circumstances, we don't get depressed in an unpleasant, unfavorable circumstances also. This is the mastery we get through spirituality. So here it is the chain of bondage and making us slaves to object and objective situations. So how to get rid of this bondage, from this chain of bondage? I have shown there that for freedom from bondage, apply treatment at the causal level. That is the best, the fundamental causal level is the first block where I have shown ignorance or avidya. As an illustration, we have shown how the Vishaya Dhyana deepens Sangha. We have taken the example of money, which is very common and true of everybody. We need money for our livelihood, for our food, shelter, clothing, for other materials of comfort and other things. So initially it is need for money, and that for that we strive for money. There is no harm in that. We are striving for money and money comes when we earn money. With that we fulfill our needs. Now the problem comes when this constant thought of money, that when it delivers certain things of comfort and all, we want it more and more. And more we think of money, we generate a Sangha to money. Sangha to money means a clinging to money alone. It is not that after a certain level we start hoarding money. It's the thought that I have so much of money that gives us the pleasure or gives us a comfort. It is not that the money is no more a need. We are not using it for our purpose of life generally. Or even if we are using, we are crossing the boundary in looking into it that it is really delivering happiness to us. So as desire for money increases, the focus shifts, and finally we end up finding that the money itself takes away happiness. That fear of losing money and greed to possess more money, both together takes away our happiness. So we should look into the truth of it, that we wanted money to have happiness. We were earning money to have happiness, and we were buying properties with money to have happiness. Now, has it served its purpose if the money has become cause of unhappiness? Nowadays we find richer the person is, more unhappy he is, and even the rich people, they fight amongst brothers also. Everywhere we find the brothers are fighting for more and more possession, more and more property. So money takes away the happiness completely. So should we not say that we have become slave to money because we started earning money for gaining happiness? Now we are no more having happiness, but money is giving us unhappiness, and even then we are after money. This is what is meant by Sangha, and how Sangha enhances the wrong desires. The Sangha enhances the wrong desires. Earlier also I say that Kama by itself is not harmful. In our Sanskriti, in our culture, the fourfold Purushartha, the Purushartha means whatever to be gained by our self-effort, is defined as Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Their Kama appears there, which means that it is the part of the fourfold Purushartha. But there, this Dharma, the idea of righteousness, the concept of righteousness, the knowledge of what will be harmonious with the auspicious stream, auspicious harmony of nature, that has to be taken care of. We have to earn following dharma, we have to fulfill our rightful desires following dharma. If we do it, then automatically when money is more, we will utilize it for others. Not only that, it will never produce unhappiness, not only that, it will not spoil our progeny. Generally when we leave too much of money to the next generation, it helps not to develop the character of the next generation, but to spoil the character of the next generation. We don't understand, we don't think deeply about it. So although money was supposed to give us happiness, it ends up taking away happiness, causing lot of misery, unhappiness, fight, violence, whatnot in the family and in the society. That is how Sangha is making us slave to the desires. Now we get back to the slide where we said that this is the cycle of bondage from desire motivated activity. We want to get rid of this situation. So the best method is to apply the correction at the source point. Now I have shown there that for freedom from bondage, apply treatment at the causal level. One is Kevala Jnana Nishtha, I discussed earlier also, which means Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, constant contemplation on the truth, thinking about the truth, spending the entire mind hours throughout the day by interacting with the concept of the soul, the universal soul, with the universal truth. So Kevala Jnana Nishtha deals with the ignorance, the avidya, because we think that we are small. We are limited by the body-mind personality. Whereas the exclusive knowledge pursuit, straight away it takes us to our real identity, that we realize that we are not the body-mind personality limited soul, but there is only one universal soul, and that we are. Often in the Shastras, this Kevala Jnana Nishtha is compared with an illustration with a bird. That is, suppose there is a ripe fruit on the branch of a tree. To get that fruit, generally we have to climb the tree, or we have to use a stick, or even after climbing some distance we have to use a stick and a hook, and with that we will try to pluck the fruit. The fruit may come to us, or it may fall and get spoilt also, anything may happen. It's a laborious process. But a bird sitting on another tree suddenly spots this ripe fruit there. It flies straight to that fruit and start eating that fruit. Kevala Jnananishta is like that. It is the straightest path to the truth, and it deals with the avidya, the ignorance which is covering our real identity. Once that covering is removed, the vikshepa or distraction also is automatically removed. So it deals at the fundamental, deals with the ajnana, the ignorance at the fundamental level. So it's the most powerful and efficient method. But that does not mean that everybody is fit to take up this method. That is what in Bhagavad Gita Krishna told Arjuna, that you are not fit for this. So if you try to take it, you will lose both sides. It is not right a person to take to a sadhana according to his fitness. So Bhagavad Gita sadhana is the next step. That is, we are not applying the correction at the very fundamental level first. We are applying the correction in the next level of the cause. And from there we are coming back to the treatment of the avidya. That is, yoga of Bhagavad Gita starts from the next level, that is, apply the correction in the where the kama is residing. That is, apply the correction at the kama point. Now we will go over to the next slide where the cycle is shown. That is the liberated action, the action which will take us to liberation through the yoga of Bhagavad Gita. Now there, the shloka in the 3rd chapter, it says that Indriyani mano buddhi asyadhisthanamuchyate etair vimohayatyesha jnanamavritya dehinam. Indriyani mano buddhi asyadhisthanamuchyate etair vimohayatyesha jnanamavritya dehinam. So he has clearly pointed out that Indriyani manaha buddhi asya adhisthana muchyate. Asya means they are referring to the kama there. Where is the seat of desire? They are pointing out the seat of desire. First the senses, then the mind, then the intelligence. So all the three have to be treated. In such a treatment, the treatment will have to be a proper treatment. If it is an improper treatment, it will not yield result. First of all, indriya treatment, a discipline given to the senses, that we always do. That those who are not given the sensory disciplines, they become absolutely spoilt as they grow. So some physical disciplines to be given to the senses, to take the proper food, nutritious food, not only go by the taste, to see such things which will ennoble the mind, which will broaden the mind, which will not spoil the mind with all filthy thoughts or so, to hear such sounds which will make the mind harmonious, peaceful, which will not agitate the mind. Like that, all these are disciplines given to the senses. Nowadays these are reducing. That is why we are finding so much of trouble in the society. Even the newspapers, the hoardings, they are all giving such pictures which will distract the mind. They will not discipline the mind at all. For the profit, for our greed for profit, the business people are spoiling the whole society by giving such advertisements, putting up such hoardings, which will spoil the youth of the whole society. So just being selfish about their own profit in selling some material, they are using the advertising media, the TV, the hoarding, the newspaper in such a manner that it will spoil the character of the whole society. It's high time that we should look into it and correct ourselves. By doing so, well, the businessman or the business institution may get a little more profit, but what they are doing is harming their own progeny, their own people also. These advertisements will be seen by their own children, by their own grandchildren, and their minds also will be spoiled. The society is built of individuals. If we do something selfish, in a selfish manner, it will spoil the whole society. It will be boomerang on us also. Our own progeny will be spoiled. Let us be careful about it, and it is high time that we take care of this situation. So he says, Indriyani manobuddhi asya adhisthana muchyate etaihi vimohayati eshaha jnanam avritya dehinam. With that they are deluding. This desire sitting in the indriyas, in the mind and the buddhi, they are deluding us, and the knowledge is being covered. For the mind, for the manaha, the disciplines have to be mental disciplines. The good thoughts, reading of good materials, seeing good films, the TV, the film industry, everything should project such things which will make our mind noble, help us thinking in a broader manner, in a loving manner. So, reading good material, thinking about good things, these are the disciplines given to the mind. Buddhi, the reading of the Shastras is a great discipline given to the buddhi. Like that, anything that we read which might be abstract, subtle, but which will make our mind expand, which will make our buddhi pure, such things are to be given to the intelligence to analyze, not how to thieve well or how to hack the computers or all so many other things. For the wrong deeds we are utilizing our intelligence. The discipline, proper discipline should be given for analysis, which will purify the buddhi, make the buddhi subtle and pure. So these are the seat of the desire, indriyas, the senses, the mind and the intelligence. That is what we have shown there. The seat of the desire is the senses, the mind and the intelligence. So to treat at that level, at this level, Bhagavad Gita suggests, prescribes various sadhanas. At least 4 we will discuss here. The 4 fundamental sadhanas prescribed by Bhagavad Gita, they are all working on the senses, mind and intelligence to purify them. Once they are purified, then the first step where the ignorance was to be dealt with by Kevala Jnana Nishtha, that ignorance also can be dealt with by a combination of the interactive sadhana as well as meditative sadhana.